Well, we have a Craftsman 10-inch miter saw, and it was dropped off with a complaint that it only starts if you bang on it, and it kind of starts and runs intermittently. So we're going to plug it in and see how it behaves. So here we go. And blade looks like it's tight. Switch feels all right. Safety switch appears to work. No evidence of fraying on the cord. The cord itself looks real good. Sometimes they get broken down in there, but so I think we're ready to turn this on. So brake works. It's taken off like a champ. All right, now I push the safety, I pulled the trigger, and it's not going off. Oh, now it's going off. So I've got to squeeze it a little harder. And I think the reason is probably the way it's interacting with the safety. If I push the safety all the way up, then it seems to be fine. But if I push the safety up just halfway, and then I stop, it's kind of jerky. Matter of fact, now I'm squeezing. I had to squeeze pretty hard to get it to come on because the safety was in a halfway mode. So if I put it all the way up and squeeze, okay, now I've got nothing. That's what I was looking for. So that's the failure mode. Okay. Let it sit. It's working fine. Okay, so I'm guessing that there's something going on with the switch in the handle here. So what we want to look at, I think, is I'm going to take it apart, open it up, and see what the interaction is between the safety switch here and the trigger. Because it appears as though when the safety is in halfway mode that you can click the trigger and it won't go on. And you really don't want to be able to click that trigger. You want to be able to put it in and then click it. After it does that, it also doesn't behave properly. But if I let it sit, then it'll come back on just fine. So, it's possible that the trigger is engaging the brake in that mode. So, we'll take it apart, take a look, and we'll be back once we have it open. Well, the screws are out. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. They're all the same, so we don't have to keep track of that. And then we'll take a look. So, very important. It's unplugged. So, when we push the trigger, the safety keeps us from engaging the trigger. When we push the safety forward, the trigger is able to go forward. It doesn't seem like there's a little bit position. It's either on or not. Here, you can see it. So, I don't know if you can see this, but down the trigger a bit, there is a little nub. And that little nub is what pushes the switch. So the actual switch that turns it on and off is down there. And you can see it just barely engages. So if it's not pushed all the way in or enough to trigger the switch, then the motor won't run. Now, this micro switch is very common. It's a very common design. It has 3 poles on it. One's common, one is normally open, the other's normally closed. And the way it works is in the normally closed position, which is what the saw is at when the handle's at rest and not depressed, there is a brake circuit that's engaged here. It's a reverse. It reverses if the saw is spinning. So, and then when you turn the saw on, obviously it goes from having the brake engaged to energizing the motor and spinning the blade. Once you let go of the handle, you hear that, that's the electronic brake kicking in and reversing the field to slow the blade down as soon as possible to reduce the risk of, an accident, fingers getting stuck in there or something after you've, want the saw, when you want the saw to stop. So there's the switch. They're all very, very, very similar. The format is exactly the same. There are some minor differences in ratings and some differences in how some of the plugs are, but I'll check to see if I have one of those around that might fit in there, and then we'll come back and we'll replace the switch. So. I'm back with the switch. So we'll pull this out and then we'll replace these one at a time so we keep track of which ones they're attached to. We want to hook them up the same way as they are on this switch, or the saw will come on when you plug it in, and that would be a bad thing, so you don't want that to happen. All right, second one. One more. Okay. And then we're going to tuck these wires back down into the plastic where they were. This switch has some little pins that it registers on so that it goes back in the right place. This spring here is what controls the safety lever, but everything looks like it should. Just going to do a quick press. And it looks like this switch is getting call it a lot more action. So we'll see if that solves the intermittent problem. Put the handle back together. I won't make you sit through that, but we'll be back here in just a minute. Hey, we're back. The screws are back in the handle. I replaced this switch with the switch I had on hand, comparable rating and with the same kind of little bitty connectors there. Same switch, similar switch. It should be just fine. So I'm gonna try and turn it on now. So first thing, the safety is still working. I squeeze the handle, I can't turn it on. Just for your information, if you're ever worried about leaving this saw around and you're afraid that a curious youngster is going to plug it in and try to figure out how to defeat the safety switch, there's a little hole right here in the trigger, right here where my thumb is, and you can put a zip tie or a bolt and a nut or something through there, and that'll keep them from being able to figure it out and turn it on. It's really kind of a lockout, I guess. But normally, if with adults in the house and well-behaved kids, you're not going to have to worry about that. All right, so it's not coming on when we press the trigger. I push it forward all the way. Comes on the way it should have. Now we're going to press it and then try to relieve the, push this up halfway and try to induce that failure. It comes up a little bit. As soon as the handle moves after the trigger is pressed, it comes on. So I'm real confident that this switch actually feels a little funny. I'll give it back to you so you know what a funny looking switch feels like, or a funny feeling switch feels like. It wasn't being depressed enough. It's not a clean action. So the saw wasn't coming on. But your saw will come on now. I'm going to pack this up and give you, do a little video production, because I like to have that done before I let you know that it's ready, and then I'll let you know that it's ready. Have a nice day. Thanks for dropping it off. Thanks for saving it. And glad I was able to find the paper for you. And things are good.